Hey, Josh here. Today on the Infographic Show, we're asking the question that's been on everyone's mind. Could a drug cartel smuggle contraband past the Great Wall of China? Who comes up with this stuff? Remind me to fire my agent. Because we're devoted to authenticity, we sent Henry, one of our most disposable writers, to Deepest Juarez to ask cartel members what they thought. We haven't heard from him in a few weeks, but he did manage to send back extensive research notes, and possibly a ring finger, on how modern drug-running operations might tackle this challenge. And really, that is what matters. Option 1. Okay, this is the most logical first option I could come up with: digging a tunnel. If you were to rank the interests of drug cartels, the top 3 would likely be selling drugs, gruesomely murdering people, and building tunnels. The scale of these tunnels will blow you away. In 2022, U.S. Border Patrol discovered a tunnel weaving underneath the Mexico-California border that was 6 stories deep and had a length of 6 football fields. This tunnel, which was 4 feet in diameter, allowed the cartel to move massive quantities of cocaine, meth, and heroin from Tijuana. It ran directly beneath some of the most fortified stretches of the U.S. border, with the exit hidden in a warehouse in one of San Diego's industrial areas. There was even electricity and ventilation systems, making things a little more comfortable for the smugglers. But how could the cartel's penchant for tunnels help them breach the Great Wall with packs of Colombian marching powder? If you want to defeat an enemy, you need to attack its weak point. That's something that Sun Tzu would probably sign off on. The Great Wall of China is pretty long, as it turns out, nearly 13,200 miles. And of course, defensively, it's no slouch. Regular garrisons, watchtowers, fortresses, barracks for soldiers, and the smoke and fire signaling system that we all saw at the start of 1998's Mulan. But sometimes a structure's most remarkable feat, its length, can actually be its weakness. And while some of the parts of the wall acted as border control for people passing into and out of Imperial territory, a lot of the wall is out in the wilderness. Assuming the drug cartel has construction equipment, it's safe to assume that the construction of a Narco tunnel is loud as hell. Let's say a very confused time-traveling Chinese Imperial Guard hears heavy machinery roaring about a mile from the Great Wall. They're gonna have a few questions, to say the least. And that's why I think if you're gonna try this at all, tunneling under or through the Yan Mountains is the best bet for staying out of sight and out of mind. But that's a problem. It's gonna be a hell of a job. Given that the Yan Mountains are made mainly out of limestone, granite, and basalt, it's a pain to get through in Minecraft, let alone in real life. Of course, there is a precedent for building underneath the Great Wall. The Chinese did it themselves. The Underground Great Wall of China is a nickname for a 3,000-mile series of underground tunnels that China uses to store nuclear warheads. But what the government of a global superpower can accomplish over decades far outstrips what even the wealthiest criminal organization could manage in 3 months. And then there is that other problem. You need a destination on the other end, like that warehouse in San Diego. But is it really worth embedding cartel members, training them in Ming Dynasty-era architecture, and then having them build structures at the tunnel's exit just to move the drugs? This seems like way more of a hassle than it's worth, don't you think? Why spend so much time risking your money and your life trying to get under the wall when you could focus on getting over it instead? Option 2. Sometimes you can't beat a classic. And of the many pejoratives you could sling against the cartel, ruthless, violent, sadistic, immoral, you definitely can't call these guys uncreative. They know their history. They have even used literally medieval methods to bypass border defenses, like the raw power of a humble catapult. Back in 2011, border guards in Narco, Arizona must have thought they were hallucinating when they saw footage of a pickup truck on the other side of the border with an elastic-strung catapult embedded into the back. The narcos planned on using this to fling 4.4 pounds of ganja over the fence. At that point, one of the cartel members in Arizona would pick it up and prepare it for distribution. And this isn't even the only way or time this has happened. In 2017, a large catapult was found physically attached to the U.S.-Mexico border wall near Tucson. This medieval contraption was used to fire 2 packages of weed weighing 47 pounds in total right over the wall. It makes you wonder how effectively this would translate to the Great Wall, and the answer might actually surprise you. Post-2017, parts of the U.S.-Mexico borders that have physical walls between them sometimes have structures as high as 30 feet, and clearly drug catapults have had a pretty easy time clearing that. By comparison, the average height of the Great Wall of China is 25 feet. This means that any drug catapult that would clear the U.S. border wall would likely also clear the Great Wall, and these are light maneuverable catapults, not the massive wooden siege engines of medieval times. It would probably be easy to watch the weakest parts of the wall and then launch a drug package over. The problem is, if you're close enough to catapult a bale of chronic over the Great Wall, what am I even saying? You're also close enough to take a shot to the face. So what if you still want to launch a drug payload over the wall, but keep a safe distance from any patrolling authorities? I thought about this too. Thankfully, the cartels have an answer for that. Let me introduce, drumroll please, the Narco Cannon. In 2013, Mexican police found a pickup truck with a large cannon in the back, powered by a car engine. It was capable of shooting a 29-pound payload of reefer over 500 feet. These pneumatic cannons are basically just an expensive, overbuilt version of the handheld cannons employees use to shoot t-shirts at baseball games. This does seem like a pretty strong option. The problem is, there is a limit to how much contraband you can smuggle this way, and it's not exactly subtle. So if you want your customers to get higher, you want to get higher too. But how? Thankfully, I've got a plan for that. Option 3. The ultralight aircraft is objectively one of the best options on the list, and it is one of the more effective and devilishly difficult to catch methods. In 2012, American Homeland Security forked out $100 million to create a bespoke system to help them even detect these kinds of stealthy, fast-moving drug smuggling aircrafts. They weigh less than 254 pounds, and they carry 5 gallons of fuel. These craft were involved in over 200 incidents between 2008 and 2014. To get a proper mental picture of what we're dealing with here, imagine a glider with an engine and a basket underneath. That basket can contain hundreds of pounds of drugs. That's far more than any catapult or cannon could launch. Outside of accidental crashes, which does sometimes happen, like an incident in 2009, these ultralight aircrafts aren't designed to land on the other side of the border. They just drop the drugs from a great height, and when the bundle drops to the earth, agents on the other side collect it and distribute. Chances are this would both literally and figuratively go completely over the heads of anyone on the wall. At most, they'd hear a vague buzzing far above, and even if they noticed, it would be nearly impossible to shoot down an ultralight aircraft without targeted weapons. So yeah, this is one of the strongest options. But let's think like the cartel and get greedy. The sky is basically wide open real estate when it comes to moving drugs over the Great Wall. Honestly, who wrote this? So is there an even subtler, more effective way to move a stash through the air? Option 4. You can do so much with drones these days, from filming stupid YouTube videos to blowing up weddings in the Middle East. They're a neutral tool that can be used for good or evil, and the cartels are happy to add another notch to the evil column. That's right, drones have become yet another drug smuggling arrow in the cartel quiver. It's gotten Border Control so worried that in 2026 they invested in a bunch of anti-drone laser guns to deal with them. In March 2024, General Gregory M. Gillot, the head of U.S. Northern Command, told Congress that over 1,000 drones a month cross the U.S.-Mexico border for either smuggling or spying on U.S. law enforcement. Obviously, it goes without saying that the cartels aren't operating U.S. Army-style Predator drones that could carry hundreds of pounds of drugs. In 2017, a man was caught using a drone to transport 12 packages of meth, hardly industrial quantities. But quantity is the name of the game when it comes to drones too. Rather than sending one ultralight aircraft over the top, they could instead send over hundreds of small cheap drones all at once. Each one could carry a small parcel of drugs. They could also use the drones to distract anyone posted on the wall to help make the other methods of drug delivery more effective. There's even some precedent for using drones for offensive purposes. In October 2025, a cartel drone hit a prosecutor's office in Tijuana. Who's to say they couldn't pepper the Great Wall with deadly miniature explosives too? But hey, just for the sake of exploring every element of this utterly deranged scenario, let's look at this from the other side. What if the cartel didn't have all the benefits of modern technology to get around the security of the Great Wall? But first, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Henry back from the cartel sometime soon. #SaveHenry. Option 5. As Katy Perry once sang, "Baby, you're a—" Sorry, no, I can't do this. Sorry, there are some humiliations I just won't put myself through. Singing Katy Perry in a video about Mexican drug cartels smuggling across the Great Wall of China is one of them. Anyway, we know that China invented gunpowder, and they were the first to do some really interesting things with it. That's why if you had to find a way to fire drugs over the Great Wall of China, it makes sense to think about using fireworks to do it, right? Thankfully, before Henry was taken to the basement of a cartel safehouse in Sinaloa country, he was able to compile a list of some of the weaponized fireworks used throughout history. There is the Chi-Huo, also known as Rising Fire, which is your pretty basic single-use rocket. Theoretically, this could transport a small parcel of drugs directly upward, But it's not like you could choose where the rocket will go. There's also the possibility that the rocket will explode and destroy the drug parcel. The huo bao, essentially a paper firecracker, would be completely useless for these purposes. The huo shu, or fire mouse, would also be pretty useless since it is a firework that's designed to fly in completely unpredictable directions. Same goes for the fei yan, or the flying swallow, which also works on the classic never let them know your next move principle. All things considered, fireworks are no replacement for modern technology. So, without the tech, what's needed is good old-fashioned human engineering. And how exactly does the cartel specialize in that? Option 6. The Great Wall of China was meant for many purposes: a garrison for troops, a way to scare off enemies, and, of course, a border checkpoint for people entering imperial territory. As an epicenter for trade in Asia, that likely meant a lot of people moving through, providing the imperial guards on the wall were willing to give them a free pass. If you're looking for a low-tech way to get drugs past the Great Wall, and you've got the extremely loose morals a career narco requires, there is one option cartels have relied on for decades: human mules. It's a technique known as body packing. Drugs are concealed in and around the body of a person traveling through a checkpoint. The safest way is to have the drugs held externally, strapped to the body of the drug mule. But in the modern day, sophisticated drug sniffer dogs make this a riskier move for the product and the mule. So modern problems call for modern solutions. To avoid the risk of losing a bunch of expensive cocaine, heroin, or meth, drug parcels are put into condoms, and then either the drug mule swallows the package or they'll insert it rectally. Put that on your LinkedIn resume. Of course, there are plenty of extreme health risks. If the mule digests the condom or moves in a way that causes it to break, they are gonna get a deadly dose of the drugs that'll likely leave them dead in the line at the checkpoint. But that's probably a risk that the cartel would be willing to take, especially considering they do it all the time. If a bunch of mules end up foaming out of the mouth and convulsing on the ground while the guards wonder what's even going on, well, that's not really the kind of thing that the cartel cares about. There's always more drugs and there's always more mules. That's all that really matters. But the human stomach is only so big, right? That puts a ceiling on how many drugs the cartel can smuggle, and thus it puts a lid on their profits, and that's no fun at all. How could the cartel use human mules to get even bigger quantities of drugs past the Great Wall of China? That is another thing they have thankfully developed a deviously ingenious method for. Option 7. There's almost nothing that the cartel won't hide drugs in. That is something I've discovered in the course of this. It swings rapidly between surprising and disgusting in a way that any guards at the Great Wall would never see coming. Don't believe me? Don't worry, you will. Here are a few of the most insane examples I discovered during research. In 2016, a drug cartel hid cocaine in breast implants that had recently been surgically implanted into a drug mule. Unless a guard was suspicious of a particularly busty citizen, it likely wouldn't be noticed. That same year, a pound of meth was hidden inside a burrito. A year later, in 2018, Portuguese police intercepted a huge quantity of cocaine inside hollowed-out pineapples. And in 2006, because sometimes drug cartels can be comically evil, they attempted to smuggle heroin inside of puppies, which is, quite frankly, supervillain stuff. Still not buying just how creative the cartel can be when it comes to hiding their gear? Don't worry, folks, I've got more. In Far, Texas, a drug cartel hid 1,500 pounds of weed inside hollowed-out coconuts. The cartel also hid drugs inside of wheels, fake crutches, dead snakes, guacamole, candy, horse shampoo bottles, strawberry jam, fake carrots, real broccoli, koi fish, and basically everything you could imagine. It probably wouldn't take the cartel long to figure out which goods are the most innocuous and then see who would be happy to add just a little cartel supplement to their income. Now let's ask ourselves a big question. Does the Great Wall of China have another weakness that we're forgetting? Option 8. By land, by air, and yes, by river and sea, cartels will literally do anything they need to do in order to get their drugs to their customers. And this option involves exploiting a weakness that you probably didn't even know about. We mentioned earlier that the Great Wall of China stretches across an absurd amount of the country, hence the name. It passes over a lot of terrain from end to end. That means it's going to intersect with a river at some point. Two methods of getting the drugs across bodies of water that cartel smugglers have absolutely perfected are the Narco boats. Even more Bond villain pilled than that is the Narco subs. Narco boats are exactly what you would expect, so we won't dwell on them. Much like the classic rum runners of the Prohibition era, these are lightweight, fast-moving speedboats that are designed to outrun and zip through the borders set up by Coast Guards. They'll likely be pretty effective for getting through the Jumanco water gate, but the Narcos are still vulnerable. With a Narco sub, that's much less of an issue. These devices are almost fully submersible in their modern incarnations. Literally no other method lets the cartel move the weight that these Narco subs can. In 2026, a Narco sub was intercepted that contained just over 4 tons of cocaine. Imagine how many people would need to shove condoms full of cocaine up their butt to move that kind of weight. But still, it's a lot of effort, isn't it? I think there are 2 more options for what the cartel could utilize, and they wouldn't need a submarine to do it, and believe me when I say they're both cartel classics. Option 9. When it comes to power, you have to remember the golden rule. The one with gold rules. Cartels are most often widely publicized for their violence, and that is on purpose. All the elaborate murders and torture is really just PR. Just as often, though, they solve problems quietly, paying off or threatening officials to make their criminal operations easier. It's the reason why, in a 0 to 100 score, with 0 meaning highly corrupt and 100 meaning very clean, Mexico recently scored 27, which really is not great. Cartels know that as much as systems have the power to shut them down, a system is only as powerful as its weakest member. These guys have a sixth sense for exactly who this person is and how to leverage them. There's no reason at all why transposing the setting to the Great Wall would be any different. Weak government officials would be found and bribed, and lower-level enforcement officials would be leveraged to look the other way. Which would leave us wondering, who would win in an Option 10. Now we're back in business. This is some classic infographic show. Who would win in a total assault, an invading drug cartel, or a force of Ming Dynasty troops garrisoned on the Great Wall of China? It's not as nearly clean-cut as you would think. Obviously, the Chinese troops would have the numerical and home turf advantage. The 9 garrisons of the Ming Dynasty arranged all the way across the wall totaled around 300,000 troops, which is nothing to sniff at. Obviously, they wouldn't all be there at the same time, but with the smoke and signal fires from the attack side, they would soon be on their way. These troops were well armored and well armed for the time. They were equipped with sabers and spears for close range, and bows and arrows, as well as rudimentary firearms and cannons for long range. But despite all that, it's extremely possible that a smaller force of narco soldiers from a modern-day cartel could win, providing they had their modern-day armaments. Sicarios have top-of-the-line body armor that would likely render many of the Ming Dynasty firearms a little more dangerous than your average BB gun. But it's not just the defense, they're also absolute beasts when it comes to offense. Fully automatic rifles and submachine guns, 50 caliber sniper rifles, handguns, the explosive drones we were talking about earlier. It's a level of weaponry so unfamiliar to the warriors of Ming China that they'd likely have trouble orienting themselves as soon as the attack began. We've seen it consistently throughout history, from the conquistadors to the British colonists in North America, that superior weapons technology is often more of a determining factor in conflict above the actual size of the armies. Before you start screaming about tactics, it's worth remembering how many of the cartel soldiers were ex-special forces, sometimes even trained by elite soldiers in the US. They know everything the Ming soldiers know and everything more. Sometimes, though, the cartels don't get their own way. Watch Times Cartels Messed with the Wrong People to find out what happens when keeping it real goes wrong. Or click on this video instead.